Hi, puppy raisers. This is Laura Zellner, Regional Manager of Puppy Raising Services and host of tonight's virtual meeting entitled Freshman First Days. I am here on campus at Southeastern Guide Dogs, along where the puppy is that you dropped off in August, and we're going to be looking at that particular freshman class first days. We're going to start off headed out to Canine University, so come along and join us. Glad you are with us.
Okay, Puppyland, I found our freshman dogs, and I found a really important person that you need to meet, and this is Rebecca Reagan. And Rebecca Reagan, will you tell us a little bit about what you do here on Southeastern Guide Dogs campus?
Well, hi guys. Welcome to Canine University Residence Halls. Very excited. We can't thank you guys enough for everything you do. But what my responsibility here is, I'm Director of Canine Care and Assessments. So we receive the dogs when you bring them in on freshman orientation day, and we have them in our building with us up until the time they get matched. So your dogs come in, they go through a barrage of assessments, and right now they're here for about 5 weeks because they go through their initial medical, their temperament assessments, they start working with the trainers, and then about 5 weeks in now, they will get to participate in weekend canine camp, which means every weekend they will get to go out to a host home. So it's a wonderful program now that we're expanding to get more dogs out. So your dogs will get to participate in that as well.
Very nice, very nice. So the dogs have come in, they came in Saturday, and today is Monday. So what has been going on with the pups since they've been here?
So since they came in, this is kind of a rest period right now. They're just getting adjusted to dorm life. Okay. So they're working with the canine care staff. They're teaching them the ins and outs of what it means to be in the building. So they're getting used to the routine. They got to introduce to some of their new playmates. They're kind of getting used to everything kennel life. They're learning our quieting protocol, which they're doing a fabulous job with.
Nice.
But just getting really lots of attention so they can kind of get settled in and give them time to relax right before they start their assessments tomorrow and Wednesday.
Okay, very good. Okay, so they've had the rest period, then they're going to do their assessments on Monday and today is Monday, Laura. Tuesday and Wednesday is when they're going to be doing their assessments. Then what does it look like for them?
So then once they've gone through their Ift assessments, they'll start working with the trainer. So the trainers start their introduction to clicker. They kind of get things going with the formal harness training. They also still have to go through their exams, their OFAs, their pin hips, all that gets taken care of. They also have some eye exams coming up, so the ophthalmologist will be on campus to do all that. Again, there's just a lot of things that take place in those first few weeks before they really get set into that harness training.
Okay. And you mentioned that they're meeting their kennel, their dorm partner, dorm mate, if you will. Can you tell me a little bit of how you introduce, what does that whole process look like for them?
So it's actually, we do a number of things. Our canine care staff they're really great at doing a little bit of research. So they actually look at the entire list of dogs. They'll look at your particular dog, see who their siblings were, who they may have been in a puppy group with. So we kind of base it on maybe somebody that they've already known, or somebody that might have the same kind of play style.
Okay.
And then so as they come in, they'll initially bring them in, we'll go out to the yard, let them introduce, really kind of monitor, see how it is, and we always keep an eye on the dynamics. So even when they come back in, they're really monitoring closely how they're interacting and making sure it's a good fit. So that's really important. And one thing that I would like to share with all of you, we've been discussing with our staff, is it would be very helpful if when you're submitting your information for your dogs that are coming in for training, if you share that piece with Amanda as well. So give them a little bit of background about your dog's play style. Do they love somebody who's a little bit more active and rambunctious, or do they like somebody who's maybe a little bit more subdued and mellow, and that's how their play styles are, because that really helps us as well to be able to make those good matches faster.
Good, very good. Well, you obviously can't take care of all these dogs by yourself. So who do you have on your team that we can show Puppyland?
So as you pan over to my left over here is Jennifer Kalbacker.
Hi, Jennifer.
She's our manager of canine care and assessment. So basically she's in charge of all the canine care staff that take care of the dogs in this building.
Very cool. Nice to meet you. And are we okay to walk through the building a little bit?
Absolutely. We'll start to walk through. So as you enter here, you're coming into the main section of the building. As you can see, the big center here, that's what we call the Rotunda. So that's where all the wings come together. We have 4 wings in the building. As you come into the main area here, you'll be able to see every wing as you come in. So we have wings A, B, C, and D. Each team of dogs, or each team of trainers will have a string of dogs in each wing. So they all get to work together pretty closely. As you can see, it's really good. We can kind of see visually how everything is laid out. Very easy to get to. The dogs can see what's going on. And then, of course, as you look to your right, Jennifer is over by the kitchen. They're all running. Are they all running?
Can we go outside? So this is our kitchen area. Oh my goodness, look at all that dog food. And this is our run area.
So you'll see, this is Marissa. She's one of our canine care staff. Someone who's very excited to come say hi. But yeah, they come out about 4 times a day. They come out with the canine care staff. They'll play sometimes in groups, so they may play with other dogs. This is Courtney.
Hi, Courtney. Oh my goodness, did you see that running leap? What a happy looking dog.
They love the sand fields.
Very fun. All right, so they run about, you said 4 times a day?
Yep, 4 times a day. They'll come out first thing in the morning to do a relief run. They come back in for feeding. Then they either get loaded. If they're loaded for training for the day, they'll get loaded, and then the canine care staff will take whoever's left back out again to do another run.
Okay.
And then of course we have a lot of cleaning. As you can tell, it's a big building, so there's lots of kennel cleaning to do. So our staff will do some cleaning. Then the dogs will go outside again and get to run some more in the afternoon, right before the afternoon feeding.
Okay.
And then again in the evening they get a nice run as well.
Okay. Now, do you always only run 2 dogs at a time, or I think you mentioned earlier that you run more at a time, possibly?
No, we can't run more at a time. It depends on the length of the group. Some groups, like, they'll just play with a couple together. It also depends on the time of day. So all of our trainers aren't back necessarily at this time.
Okay.
So most likely some of the groups may still have their kennel or their run group mates out training.
Okay.
But this afternoon, when they're all back for their evening run, they'll get to play together. So yeah, we can definitely have more than just the 2 dogs that are playing.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your phenomenal care of our pups, and we will talk to you soon. Awesome.
Hi guys, it's Rebecca Reagan. I'm videotaping a small segment here to show you how our trainers and our staff perform the quieting protocol. So as you see, the trainers are in there starting to quiet the dogs, and then they will come out and get the cart, and we'll proceed from there, and we'll have one of our trainers explain how we do our quieting. Okay, we're going to follow Marissa here. She's going to grab the cart and come inside for feeding.
So obviously this is a trigger.
Uh-huh.
So we want to make sure we feed the dogs that have been quiet to obviously reward them for being so good. Good dog.
So as you see, this is a very exciting time of the morning. Everybody is ready to eat. very good to have 25 dogs quiet while we're feeding. Excellent. So as you see, we're going to walk down the aisle here and kind of see everybody's nice and quiet. 2 more trainers in the back here working with the quieting. Everybody's doing an excellent, excellent job. So this is one of the biggest things that we work on the first few weeks in, just getting them acclimated. And as you can see, they're all doing very well. Keep up the good work, guys.
Okay, puppy raisers, we are leaving Canine University and headed over to our Canine Training Center and taking a look at our assessments.
Guess who I found again? Our famous heroine of the day. So we're going to go into the assessment room, how they have it set up, and I'm just going to pan around. And so let's go ahead on in, and then Rebecca, if you could just explain the process.
Yeah, so as we come in, you're just going to see everything's kind of set up initially. The dog will enter the room by themselves so they can explore a little bit. And then our handler will actually enter, it's one of my staff members, will enter the room and then kind of work with the dog both on and off leash to a variety of things, things for the assessment. And then of course, one of the things that we talk about too is this is pretty much like our RM walk and talks, but it's in a more closed, controlled environment.
Okay.
But it's really important that we have everything be novel to them. So this is all something that they've not experienced before, and it's really important for us to capture accurate data. So this is why we always, I don't want to say it's a under the wraps type thing, but this is why it's like that, because we really want that accurate raw data, so we really get to know each dog, that it doesn't give us something true. Yes, exactly. Their actual personality and what the dog needs. So it's really important for us to be able to make sure that we're capturing that in real time.
Okay, so this is not something that we want to encourage our puppy raisers with a really large living room or a garage to get all these items and set it up so that their puppy's going to rock that IFT assessment test. Am I right?
Correct. This is not, that is not what the IFT is. It's not a test for the dog. It's never a pass or fail. I actually did a conference a couple years back and really wanted to express the importance of it is definitely not a pass or fail. It's not something we want to practice with. It's something that we want to collect data, so that helps us pick the right dogs for breeding, helps us pick the right dogs for guide dog, helps us pick the right dogs for service dog, because it gives us a true capture of their actual temperament, what the dog needs to make them successful.
Perfect.
Okay, raisers, let's head down to the vet clinic and see who we can chat with. Okay, puppy raisers, we are now in our vet clinic, and I have Rebecca Galbraith with me, and she is going to tell you a little bit about herself and her position at Southeastern Guide Dogs, along with what your dogs that you have raised will experience once they come to campus. So welcome, Rebecca. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. So I'm the office manager of our veterinary center. So I kind of try and keep all the pieces together. So all of the scheduling and ordering all of the things and all of the people parts, and kind of piece it all together to get everything accomplished that we need to on campus and off campus as well.
Wow, that's a lot. So when a dog comes onto campus, what does it look like for them medically? What are their first things that dog will experience?
Yes, so even before they arrive on campus, we're collecting medical histories. So I'm sure you get an email maybe from your area coordinator that says, you know, your dog is coming in for training and please submit all of the medical records that you have. And that's so important to us, and especially for the genetics department, because we go through those medical records and see what's been going on with your puppy when they've been outside of our school. So some of you might be local and come to our veterinary clinic, and throughout their childhood, their puppyhood, we've been taking care of them and we've seen them for all their vaccines, or if they've not been feeling so great, maybe we were the ones that spayed and neutered them. But there's so many of you that live outside of our reach. So we want to get those medical records, and we start collecting them. And one of our veterinary assistants starts going through those records, verifying that puppy vaccines were completed, and then compiles that with the rest of the paperwork that Dr. Conrad will go through. So then, fast forward, when they're on campus, we schedule them for what we call an IFT physical, so an in for training physical, and we can fit anywhere between 3 to 5 in on any given day. So it takes us a couple weeks to get through all of them. And for those physicals, we bring them down to the vet center, and Dr. Conrad will review their medical records, and he'll see, have they been perfectly healthy, or maybe somebody's had a couple ear infections or some upset tummies, or maybe something bigger that we need to explore and take a look at. And he'll kind of identify those diagnoses and we'll enter them in the computer, and that's really valuable to our genetics department in their selection of breeders. And then he gives them an actual physical, you know, so head to tail, looks them all over, and just, you know, sees if there's anything we need to check out a little bit more, or if they're perfect. And then we do blood work. So there's lots of blood work that gets done, routine blood work, and they get their heartworm tests done, and then maybe some that might be specific if their breeder evaluates some other tests there. And then x-rays are the big one. So we have 2 different types of x-rays that we do on that day. So the first one are called OFA x-rays, and those are 3 pretty simple images of one of the hip straight forward, and then of both of their front elbows. So that tells us right now, is there any hip or elbow dysplasia in the dog? And we're very, very fortunate, I guess, through all the genetic compiling and data, that we have really weaned a lot of that out of our line, and it's very uncommon for us to get any results back that say this dog has any sort of dysplasia. And then the pen hip x-rays are a little bit more involved. So those are our breeder evaluates that get those. That can take upwards of an hour to complete that x-ray study for each of those dogs. And so there's 11 to 13 images that get taken with that. And that kind of tells us what's the future potentially going to be like for this dog. What is the possibility of them developing any sort of dysplasia in the future, or passing it on to their offspring? So that's the tool that has been crucial in us eliminating, for the most part, any sort of dysplasia in our line. So that's kind of their big physical exam. And then the genetics department will look at our notes and kind of make some determinations there to see who they're most interested in becoming breeders, or who they're fine to go. We can spay and neuter them and they can go into training. Then the next big thing are eye exams. So usually about the second week that they're on campus, we have an ophthalmologist actually come to campus. So he's a canine ophthalmologist, or he or she, we have 2 that we partner with, and they will look at every single dog's eyes. So they get this when their baby is about 6 to 8 weeks old, and then again when they're in for training. And then if there's anything they're thinking, maybe any question marks about, we might recheck them in 3 months or so. So those are the big pieces for us that, you know, it's really our share of the work there, getting puppies or the dogs ready for training.
Wow, that is incredible. That is a lot of work that y'all do prior to them with all those records, because I know I've seen some of the records come in, and so I know that's quite a lot. So it's really important that our raisers get those records in as soon as possible. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. That's for sure.
Very good. So this is kind of just to kind of give our raisers a little perspective about how many dogs the clinic actually sees? So in addition to our info training dogs that come on for freshman orientation, which is about probably 30 dogs or so, how many other dogs does the clinic see maybe on a given day, best guesstimate, which I know is a lot?
It's hard to make a guess because it can really vary day to day. You know, we could have a quiet day where, you know, we just see a handful of dogs, or we could see an entire training string that day for physical. So we see, you know, twice as many dogs. I would say on average between what we plan on and what gets added on, probably 40 to 50 dogs a day, I would
Oh my
guess.
goodness, that's crazy incredible. Wow. And you also have the puppies in the puppy academy, right?
Yeah, that's sort of including them, and so
Okay.
that's why it can vary. So are we doing litter exams that day, or do we not have litters due for any exams that day? Or like I said, the training physicals. So the training teams will bring every single one of their dogs down, you know, about once a month for us to get our hands on, take a look at. So even after freshman orientation and those initial exams, every single month we're not doing X-rays and the whole thing, but we're doing physical exams. Their trainers are bringing them down to the vet center, and we're putting our hands on the dogs at least monthly.
Wow, that's a lot of work that y'all do. So thank you so much for your passion for our dogs. And thank you so much for all that you do for Southeastern Guide Dogs. I really, really appreciate it, and appreciate your time.
Okay.
It was great chatting with you. Rebecca has sent me a couple of x-rays, and we're going to slide those pictures up shortly. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
OFA, excellent hips. OFA, hip dysplasia. OFA, normal elbow. OFA, elbow dysplasia. Pen hip, compression view. Pen hip, distraction view. Leaving our veterinary center, we are headed to Puppy Academy to speak with Lauren Holt, Manager, Reproduction and Early Puppy Education. Alrighty, Puppy Land, here we are in Genetics and Reproduction. This is actually the clinic where our breeders will come for various evaluations, but it's not my field. So let's meet Lauren Holt. She is our Manager of Genetics and Reproduction. And so Lauren, take it away and tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, how long you've been for Southeastern Guide Dog, your history. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Lauren. I'm actually new to Florida. I just moved here, back in April. So I'm new to Southeastern, so I've only been on staff for about 3 months now. And like Laura said, I am the Manager of Reproduction. I also do some early puppy education stuff. But today we're talking about reproduction and genetics and what happens to your puppy when we are taking a look at them. So we are in the clinic. This clinic is used for genetics and reproduction. It's also used for nursery, and then also our puppy kindergarten. So all of Puppy Academy, which we're in, kind of uses this clinic. But for sure, on a day-to-day basis, I'm in here a lot working with our breeders. So in here we will be looking at pulling blood for progesterone on our girls. We'll run it on our progesterone machine, which she's actually warmed up and working right now. You can kind of hear her doing her little dance as she collects the data on our girls that are currently in heat. And then actually over here is our wonderful sperm vision computer and microscope. And actually today I'm doing some freezing. So we have a dog who is what we call a dual career or double major dog, and he's actually staying in training. He's also staying intact for a short period of time so that I can collect samples on him. And then I am freezing, doing semen handling, and then we will speak to later today, after I move through that procedure, we're actually going to be putting those semen samples into our cryo tanks. So these are deep freeze. There's liquid nitrogen in these tanks. And so his sample will live in here until we decide we want it. And the really cool thing about that for us is that for that particular dog, we kind of get the best of both worlds. So he can stay in training and become a guide dog or a service dog, but we can also use his samples down the road if we want to kind of preserve those genetics that he has. So this clinic is multifaceted. We also use this clinic for doing our pregnancy confirmations. So we have an ultrasound machine that we use. We also have an x-ray so that we can get a puppy count when we know mama's pregnant, and what to expect for nursery. So this clinic kind of serves us in a multiple levels throughout the journey of a breeding dog.
Very cool. And so you said that you just joined Southeastern Guide Dogs. So where did you join us from? Where did we steal you from? Because we're so lucky to have you.
Yeah, so I used to work for a program that is good friends with Southeastern. It's called Susquehanna Service Dogs. It's up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And so over the years, I've gotten to work with Southeastern many times, whether it's puppy exchanges or breeding, swapping stud dogs or females back and forth. So I have been good friends with Southeastern for a while. And like I said, I was up at Susquehanna Service Dogs in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. There I did a little bit of breeding, but I did a lot of puppy stuff. So I am a friend of a puppy raiser for sure. So I know
Very
the
nice.
important work that our puppy raisers do and how important they are in the role of both our guide dogs, our service dogs, and our breeding dogs.
Very nice, very nice. And so let's say we have a puppy so we're looking at our freshman string our freshman class that just came in on Saturday.
Yes.
So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so that string of freshmen, those are what we call breeder evaluates, or BEs. And myself and the rest of the genetics and reproduction team has been kind of looking at them over their entire course of puppy raising. So if a dog is still intact, by the time they come IFT, they are considered a breeder evaluate. And like I said, we are looking to see how they're doing on their walk and talks, how they are doing based on information that we're getting from area coordinators and our RMs. We are also taking a look at, even before they came to you as the raisers, what they look like as an itty bitty puppy. And we're just kind of collecting all the data we can on that puppy to get to know what they are and who they might be in order to see what their genetics they'll be passing on. We're also going to take a look at all of, my timer's going off. That's my timer to let me know that our sample has been freezing for the right amount of time. So we're also going to take a look at all of the medical history of that puppy. So we're taking a look at, did that puppy have reoccurring ear infections? Were there any urinary issues? Was there any type of medical kind of abnormality that we should be aware of that would maybe take their name off of our list? So we're looking at all those things. We've been studying those puppies that you've sent us for a while. They've been on our radar for a long time. For our girls, we're making sure that they've had heat cycles. So this is why it's so important to report your heat cycles to your area coordinator and then your regional manager, because I get them and I put them into our little database so that we can keep track of those things.
Okay.
And then when they finally get here to campus, they will be doing an assessment, their IFT assessment, and that is that standardized test to see how they are going to react to different stimuli in their environment. They're going to be able to try on a guide dog harness, all of those things that we care about genetically that could be passed on to those their potential future puppies. We want to take a look at. And then in addition to that, so that's the temperament. That's a super important piece of it, right? If they don't have the temperament that we are looking for as our ideal dogs, then we're probably going to pass on them to become a breeder.
So it's not about looks, like a lot of our puppy raiser thinks, such a good looking dog, they need to be a breeder.
All of our dogs are beautiful,
right?
But definitely we're choosing based on temperament, And then the second piece, which is just as important, if not more important, is looking at the health of the dog.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing, making sure that hips, elbows, eyes, heart are all up to our highest standard.
Okay.
And those are things that will be checked out here when they come for their IFT medical exam. And then also I will be doing genetic testing on any of those dogs that make it through that series.
Okay.
And what I'm looking for is any type of genetic disorders that could be passed on to puppies. So copper toxicosis, PRAs, there's loads more, DM, EIC, which is exercise-induced collapse. All of our dogs are never affected by this because we always are looking at the parents and choosing parents that are going to either be carrier to clear or clear to clear. So we're never going to have any dogs that are affected, but we want to make sure that if we are going to be breeding them, that we know what they are going to be passing on genetically.
Okay.
So that's basically health-wise what we're looking at when they come here, and that takes time to get all those results back, to make it to all those appointments. So that part does take time. So while they're here, they're hanging out either in the assessment center if we're running like normal. Although during COVID times, they have been just staying over in CU in Canine University, and then we are pulling them over to make sure to do those medical checks.
Okay.
And then I did talk about those dogs that are dual career. We really only dual career our males at this point if we are going to dual career. So like I said, that dog from this morning, he's staying in training. His trainer and I are working together. So I put on the schedule. I'm going to bring him over this morning. I'm going to collect him, and then I'm taking him back to see you. And she emailed me and said, "Okay, we're headed out on our route. I think you're good for right now, like good for the day." So we are kind of working collaboratively to make sure that he is able to major in both his topics, both genetics and then also guide dog.
One of those high-ranking dogs.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Alrighty, so you've gotten all the medical information back that you need. Now what do you do?
Yeah, so we got all the medical information back. My team and I, we're collaborating. We're like, do we want this dog? I don't know. We're looking at, do we need their genetics? Because we can have a beautiful dog. They can have all of those health traits that are desirable in a guide or service dog with an extremely wonderful temperament. And we can say, you know what? We have mom and that sister and that brother, and this dog, we really don't need him. He can just go out to training. He can just be an amazing dog who can be in training. And so we might just pass on them because we're not interested in taking more genetics on from that line. Or we can say, you know what, I think that this is a dog who is the cream of the crop, the best of the best, and the best way that we can make use of this dog is actually to breed them to help us make more of that type of dog, right? And so we can do more good by taking them out of training, disqualifying them from guide work, but instead saying it's worth it to us because that one dog can make 10, 15, 20 more that are just as nice. And so we'll bring them over here. They'll have a 2-week period in genetics and reproduction. So I'll take you back to our male and female wings. So you can see that.
Great.
And there they're going to stay for 2 weeks. We're going to, at least 2 weeks, we're going to spend a lot of time with them. They're going to come in here, they're going to hang out, we're going to get to know their personality a little bit more. We're going to make sure that they feel comfortable in this environment. So with our girls, I do a lot of counter conditioning, making sure they're comfortable getting up on the scale and making sure that they're comfortable with me taking blood, because when they're in heat, I'm going to be taking blood a lot to make sure that I'm tracking their progesterone levels. We make sure that our mamas-to-be are comfortable getting into the ultrasound trough. Our boys, we're making sure that they are all up to tip-top shape. And so they're going to be here, like I said, for at least 2 weeks to do what we call colony exposure. And in that time, our breeder-host liaison is also going to be working to identify the best breeder host that is on our breeder-host wait list. And some of those hosts have been waiting for 1, 2, 3 years to fill kind of that piece for us, which is we need a home that's going to keep our breeders comfortable and happy and healthy in between the times that we're going to use them for breeding. So those breeder hosts are responsible for keeping up training as best they can. They are responsible for bringing that breeder to us on a pretty regular basis, at least every 4 to 6 weeks for weight checks.
Okay.
They're going to come to campus for health checks, any type of vet appointments. And then they're also going to help transport that dog to us when we want to use them for breeding. So there's a lot that goes into a breeder host. There's an application process and a pretty extensive screening process to make sure that that host is prepared to take a dog on and be part of our Southeastern family to take care of our breeders. So once that decision is made, let's say we want to pick the Smith family for one of our girls, then we will introduce them and they will kind of go off and kind of start that journey as breeder hosts.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Well, that's great information. So would you think that a puppy raiser should be disappointed if their dog was chosen, or that they put all that work into training that puppy and now it's not really working as a guide or a service dog?
Yeah, so I'm very biased, but I absolutely would not say that our puppy raisers should be disappointed in the least.
Good.
I can tell you firsthand how appreciative I am of that sacrifice. I know that the vision that a puppy raiser has is for that dog to become a guide or a service dog. But again, we need puppy raisers to raise our potential breeders so that we can see the potential in that dog.
Okay.
We can grow them. We can see all the skills that dog has potential to have in order for us to make the best decision about choosing that dog to then help us make more service and guide dogs. So absolutely, I would not be disappointed. I think that having your dog chosen as a breeder should be considered a very, very high compliment.
Nice.
It means that everything you did really brought out the best in that dog, and we were able to see that, and there's something really special about that dog that we want to make more of them, basically. So I think that it can be hard, like I said, when you have that image in your head of them becoming a guide, but I always am reminded that through a breeder we can hopefully make more guides, right? They're able to touch more lives.
Right.
Maybe not directly, but through a breeder they are able to touch so many more lives than the one single life of their graduate. So it is I think it's a really high compliment.
And not just our future, what their offspring will touch lives, but I think about the host.
Yeah.
So many, and you mentioned that there's been a waiting list. Some of these hosts have been on a waiting list, so definitely impacting their life as well.
Yeah, and our hosts, one of the things we talk about a lot in this office is just knowing how much our hosts just absolutely love that dog. That dog is a member of their family. Oftentimes, they will adopt them. More times than not, they will adopt them after that breeder is retired. That is their new family member, and they love those dogs with all their heart. I think that they are also very aware of what has gone into to raising that dog. I so many times I get compliments, especially from new hosts that are like, breeder hosts are like, this is an amazing dog. We're like, thanks, but it's the puppy raiser. You can thank the puppy raiser. So our breeders are absolutely adored by their hosts, and they have families and children who love them and grandchildren that love them. They are definitely a part of the family and welcomed into the family so.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Let's go take a look at the runs and the kennels. Thank you. Okay, so this is our male wing. So we just have 2 guys in here. Hello, Pop. And then this over here is our female wing.
Yep, so they have indoor-outdoor access. All the girls who are in here are going to be in heat. they're coming out here at least 3 to 4 times a day.
Very
potty
nice.
breaks, to play, to keep their exercise up. Sometimes we'll even run a few groups together.
Okay.
So that they can get their social in. And like I said, the girls that are going to be in DNR are either in heat or we're trying to bring them into heat.
Okay.
So whether they are going to be bred or not on a given cycle, we're going to be having them come to genetics and reproduction. They're going to stay with us for their entire heat cycle so that we can track their progesterone levels, so we can add that to an extensive list of data on that dog, so that next time if we want to breed them, that we have that information to help us make the best decision about when to breed and all that. And then they're also going to get health checked while they're here, so that we can make sure that they're up to standard. Right, baby girl?
Very nice. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and
I
thank
really
you guys,
appreciate
as
it.
raisers. We really appreciate all that you guys do, and please know how much it's appreciated when your dog becomes a breeder.
Very awesome. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's head on up to the Canine Assessment Center and check on our fitness team.
Okay, Puppyland. We are now in the Canine Assessment Center, which silly me thought that was where assessments was happening. But guess what? This one phenomenal conditioning duo, team duo, has taken over the assessment building, and they are going to, let's go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us what you do here at Southeastern Guide Dog, how long you've been with Southeastern Guide Dogs, and what the freshmen dogs look like as it applies to y'all.
Sure. So my name's Jess. Excuse me. I work in the fitness department. Of course, you get a tickle in my throat. I work with the fitness department. I've been with Southeastern for about 3.5 years now, and so I'm part of a tripod, if you will. So we have Lauren as well.
Hey, I'm Lauren. I've been here 4.5 years almost. One more year than her. So I'm a fitness coach and rehabilitation assistant. I think that's what they call me.
Yeah. And so our job, what we do is the first day back, what we do is we assess the dogs for their fitness level. And so we bring them to this big room here, and we have them do a variety of exercises all over the equipment to kind of gauge their interest level, gauge what they're comfortable with, and then we create a plan for them. And what we do is we'll work them out every day for about 4 weeks when they get here. So they'll either be hanging out in the room here with us doing a variety of exercises, or they'll be in our pool with us swimming and getting more strength resistance training too.
Very neat. So I just walked by that really cool pool, and I got some video of that. So if you have a pup, so I know this is one of the questions on our survey, that they say, oh my goodness, the pup just doesn't like water. What do y'all encourage the dog to go into the water, or what do you do with that dog that just does not like water?
Yeah, so each of the dogs, whether they like the pool or not, we do bring them to the pool. We have them kind of walk around the sun deck, the outside area. If they want to get in, we do have a very shallow sun deck that's probably, I don't know, 8 inches or so. We'll have them step in and play with us. We've got some different toys and things that we use. But we never force them to get in the pool. So if they walk up to it and they show that they're uncomfortable or that they're not interested, then we say, okay, we check that off our list. And so instead what they'll do is they'll work in here, and they'll work on a treadmill with us too.
Okay.
So we'll kind of substitute that treadmill in for the pool instead.
Okay, very cool. And so this is some of your fun equipment, which we have seen you do some amazing conditioning videos. So puppy raisers, we're not going to do any videos today on the equipment, but you can go back into the library, the puppy library, and check out the video that they did with Jennifer Bryan. So, okay, so they spend 4 weeks with you roughly. And then, so let's say the dog is chosen to work with you on your team. Do you only work with the dog for 4 weeks, or do you work with the dog longer?
It's kind of case by case. Some of the dogs we will continue to work with longer. And so what we do is we kind of correlate with whatever training team they're on and create kind of like an individual schedule for them.
Okay.
And so when they're not out training or they're not out, doing their, I guess, trainings at different facilities and different outside areas, we'll be with them. Usually in the afternoons is when we get some time with them.
Okay.
So it works out nicely because they come back from training, they work out with us, and then they take a nice nap.
Oh, very nice. And so what are some of the things that you have seen that you will work with a dog on and have success in having that dog overcome?
So really the biggest thing is confidence. A lot of these guys, it's not that they have low confidence, but we definitely see a huge improvement with it. And so we'll also see sometimes that they don't realize where their back feet are. A lot of our dogs just think they have the 2 front feet and the back feet follow along. And so with that, we do different exercises too to kind of make them more aware of their back feet and of their body overall. And then the other thing that we really see an improvement with is different textures and different like movement under their feet.
Okay.
That's another big one that we see.
Okay, very good. Well, great. So can we take a look at some of your other equipment, like your body weight distribution equipment? All right, so we're going to go look at some of their high-tech equipment right now. And again, this is our assessment center, what was our assessment center. Probably will return to being our assessment center.
Can I tell you some interesting stuff about the treadmill?
Love some interesting
So,
stuff.
yeah, just be careful right here. So this is the new underwater treadmill. So we've only had this, what, about a month?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly a month. So, but we started realizing we had some of the dogs that will not get in the pool, have absolutely no problem getting in the water in the underwater treadmill. So we're so excited about that because as of right now, we have not had one single dog be upset or stressed out so much that we had to remove them from the underwater treadmill. So this is a huge thing for us. So if they won't get in the pool, we're still going to be able to exercise them in the water, in the underwater treadmill.
Very cool. And do you mind telling the raisers how this works? I didn't know how it worked, and I had a dog that went through conditioning with the underwater treadmill, and he would not get his paws wet, get into any type of water, but he loved the underwater treadmill. So do you mind just telling the raisers what the how this really? Oh, there she goes. Ah!
Come on. Yeah, it's really like most of the noise is far enough away from them that the noise does not freak them out at all. The water, and interrupt me if you want. The water, it fills up so slowly and gradually that it doesn't really scare them a whole lot. And also when we started, you'll see how slowly it starts, so they're not really having a problem with the movement under their feet either.
Okay, very cool.
We usually start it right about this level, so it's just above their paws, right around their ankles and their wrists, if you will. So we start off nice and shallow, and we kind of judge and see how comfortable they are with that piece. It's like she said, a lot of the dogs have no issue with it. So what we do is we'll start our treadmill. I'm going to start it nice and slow, so you can kind of see how slow the pace is. So, and this is a half a mile an hour. Let's see. Oops.
And you can see it also looks kind of similar to their kennels that they live in.
It does.
So
it really does.
I think that actually helps because it doesn't look like a weird, different type of box or
structure, right?
Yeah.
So what type do you use just kibble to encourage the dog, or do you use a high value reward for them?
So usually we use what we call a lickety stick.
Okay.
And so those are what we make here, right here on campus. So we have a sweet potato peanut butter flavor, and then we've got a carrot and pea flavor. So, which is funny because you have ones that like the sweet stuff better, and then some that like the salty one better. So I don't know if you can see or not, but it's actually going right now.
I couldn't tell it was moving, so I'm going to zoom in.
Yeah, you want to zoom in, absolutely. And it's like you can hear, it's extremely quiet.
I do see it. I saw that the joint move past. That is a very slow moving.
Yep.
Very nice.
And so this is really cool. I mean, because we can raise the water levels, we can increase the speed.
Very nice.
There's a whole variety of factors that we can control on it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, will this in turn will the dog transfer being comfortable in the water treadmill to walking on a regular treadmill?
Or
do you have a need for them to walk on a regular treadmill if they're comfortable in here?
So the land treadmill, it helps with a couple things. It'll help correct their gait. So if they're doing any sort of crab walking or trying to walk sideways, the land treadmill actually encourages them to walk straight forward. Whereas this one, there's more room, there's more leeway, I guess. So it doesn't necessarily help with fixing any type of gait.
Okay.
It's more for any sort of rehab sessions, and it's more for overweight dogs.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
that's usually what's used.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time. And I just have to give you, Puppyland, a tidbit of information about these two incredible ladies. I got to shadow them when I first came to campus. And you've never seen two ladies go do their their OFA x-rays so quickly. It was like each one of them knew what the other one was thinking, and they're absolutely a dynamic duo. Absolutely 100%. So if your puppy is with them, your puppy is loving life to the extreme. Alrighty, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Well, that concludes our look at a freshman's first days. Thanks so much for joining us, and stay tuned for a short question and answer period.